Welcome to my channel. My name is Spade Parkland. Welcome to Parkland Media. This video contains my fan theory for the show From on MGM+. This video contains spoilers. This video was not made from anything from MGM+ exclusive content. If the theory holds true, I just got it right. Subscribe, click the notification bell, thumb up the video, share your social media. If you want to support me and support the channel, you can join the channel membership, and or you can also support with the super thanks that is near the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the comment section.
I have to tell you something. When we went to those ruins, when I walked inside, I didn't just have a dream. I think I went somewhere.
What do you mean?
I don't know how, but when we went to the ruins, suddenly I was in a chamber. And I saw me and Randall and Marielle chained to the wall.
What were you doing?
We were screaming. I think that's where we were when we couldn't wake up. But then I left the chamber and I went into the tunnels. I heard Mom's voice, and she was talking to Victor. Remember how she said that Victor was the one who helped her find her way out of the tunnels that night when the house fell down? I think that's what I heard. But I think I was actually there. Like I somehow went back to that night.
You're a story walker.
What?
Someone who can visit chapters of the story that already happened.
What? So if I go back to those ruins, do you think I can do it again?
Maybe. Why?
What if this is real? That means I can change things. I can save Tension. Maybe I can even save Thomas.
It doesn't work like that.
But you just...
You can visit the chapters, but you can't change them.
Why?
No one can change a story once it's been told.
Christopher, the chosen one, was supposed to go through the tree and save the children. I don't think that it is really meant to save the children. I think this is one big circle as far as like how we imagine time in 2024, whereas a lot of people believe that time is a straight line, but it curves and eventually it turns into a curved part where it just connects back with its beginning, and it's almost like it's infinite as a circle. Time is a straight line as we view it. When you look at time and you look at it from the point of view of like centuries, it's no longer really a straight line, especially when you go from centuries to you're talking about a billion years. It goes to where it's a line, but it's more like a line that curves and eventually comes back on itself. It goes full circle. And this beginning and end being connected with itself is like that because the end could happen because of Armageddon, if you believe in the Bible, or a nuclear holocaust that destroys the whole planet, or something that destroys the whole universe. And so the end is where everything gets destroyed and then a big bang or creation happens, and now you have a beginning. And it just keeps going around and around for infinity, where there's a birth, which is the beginning, and then there's an ending, which is the end. Okay, so with that being said, with it being like a circle, I don't think that the idea is really to save the children, simply because if something like time travel is in play in the show, which it is, this is the beginning where we have the sacrifice. Then you got the end where the children are supposed to be saved. Okay, so you got sacrifice, and then you got the save. I'll just do S-A-V. Yeah, okay, S-A-V. So, and then From has basically been one cycle after another caused by the original sin of the sacrifice. And then the end is like the end of the series. So because time travel is in play, And because we're seeing everything where we see the cause and effect together, if you go back in time where the children are sacrificed and stop them from being sacrificed, there would be no show, because we're seeing the cause and effect at the same time, i.e. Boyd was trapped in the chimney. He calls it a chimney, but it's actually a mine shaft. So Boyd was trapped in the mine shaft and we immediately saw the rope. Or Victor and Tabitha were lost in the caves, and then Tabitha got a nudge and then she went the right way and got out. So we saw the problem and solution right there together. So if anyone were to go back in time and actually prevent the children from being sacrificed, then there would be no show. So what I'm thinking is the idea of saving the children is not really keeping them from being sacrificed, but it's to give them hope in the first place. Let's just go through what the boy in white was telling Christopher. The answers to the end are at the beginning. It sounds crazy because it's like, okay, should you go back to the beginning? But going back to the beginning is not going to stop the sacrifice from happening, or there would be no show. So I think that the writers are basically telling us, the theorists and viewers, that the answers to the end of the show are at the beginning when it says previously on From. So I think they're breaking the fourth wall with telling us that the answers to the end, or the answers that we're seeking, are literally in the previously on From, and they show us that stuff in the beginning of the episode. That's where the answers are. And the second thing is, Christopher was supposed to go through the tree and save the children. I think that to save the children is to give them hope. Because if you look up the word saved, what we think of save is to set free from confinement or danger. But there's a second meaning for save, and it means maintain, preserve. I think when it means to save the children, it means to maintain and to actually give them hope. So it's not really to prevent them from being sacrificed, but you save the children by giving them hope. When Julie went into the lair on episode 8, when she went into the lair, Boyd went to the right of Martin and exited back into the forest, whereas Julie went through the door that was like to the left of Martin, that was like straight ahead. And so when she went through that door, she was in the cave. Just kind of going back to the idea of saving, going with the theme of Christianity. When someone says, I'm a born again Christian, I am saved, sanctified, and free because of the blood of Jesus. When they say that they're saved, they're saying that they're rescued, but they're not really rescued from anything. They're more of really maintained, because everybody has goodness inside of them. And when you are quote unquote saved, your goodness is like maintained, and now you can walk a new path after you've been born again. So with the idea of being saved, you're delivered, you're rescued. The saving of the children is not to prevent them from being sacrificed or even to unalive the creatures, but it's to give them hope that someone will come save them. And we know that no one is going to save them as far as time travel or go through a faraway tree and teleport to them in the past or something. Because if they were prevented from being sacrificed, there would be no From show. So I think that the saving of the children is to give them hope. Someone like Julie in season 1, episode 1, she was antagonistic to Ethan, antagonistic to his stories, because she felt bitter that she had to take care of Ethan when Jim and Tabitha were losing their S because baby Thomas had passed away. So Julie was antagonistic to Ethan, antagonistic to everybody. But as we see towards the end of season 3 this season, she's more not only appreciative of Ethan, but she's even has asked him his stories to get an understanding of what she believes that she should do. Julie did not have to go to the ruins. She felt that she was called to the ruins. And so the first thing that Julie did was brought Ethan with her because nobody else would come. She sought Ethan's counsel. She sought his counsel. She crouched down and gained his validation. She looked into the abyss. She gained courage from what Ethan was telling her about, that she's at a threshold in his stories that he was always talking about with the Kamanako, which Julie turns out to be the Kamanako. I think I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But Julie is that character now. And then she's staring into the abyss with Ethan at her side as a guide. The journey begins with them holding hands, and then she walks into the abyss, into the unknown. So she was like called to do that. And then when she walked into the ruins, she was transported to the past and to another dimension where Martin was chained to a wall and Boyd was in the underground mine shaft. Then she was transported to the part of the caves in that same point in time where Victor and Tabitha were navigating the caves. I think that Julie, having more of appreciation for Ethan because he's young and he was there for her, counseling her, giving her validation and giving her courage, Julie's going to be the one to travel to the past. She actually was about to go into the room where the children were being sacrificed, but she was pulled out of there. If they would have left her in there, maybe 10 more minutes, she would have saved the day. But they pulled her out. And when they pulled her out, now we still got the show. As we saw in episode 8, Julie was getting ready to go into the room where the children were, but they were being sacrificed. I think the same thing is going to happen where season 4, maybe season 5, she goes back to the ruins and she does a rinse and repeat where she, instead of going to where Martin is and where Tabitha and Victor is, she goes to where the children are being held in the cave, in the bone jails. And she's going to see Ethan in them being a child. And she's going to periodically visit them, talk to them, get to know them, and even show them love and fall in love with them and be wondering what she can do to help them. And I believe that Julie is going to tell the ghoulish children the stories that were told to her from Ethan, and she's going to recite those stories to the children to give them hope. I believe it's going to be Julie's going to be the one to give the ghoulish children hope that she's going to save them or someone's going to save them. It's going to be all right. They're going to be feeling hopeful. They're going to pour that hope into the roots when they're about to be sacrificed. And I think they were set on fire. They're going to be believing that they're going to be saved at the very last minute. So I don't know if any of you all are Christian or if you're going to be offended by this, but when people say that they're going through a problem, they're like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave it in God's hands. So they're basically having hope that someone's going to come save them or help them maintain what they got going on and not take a loss. So when someone is like, oh, I want God to deal with it, they're not really asking to get ahead. They're asking not to take a loss. Because let's say if you have someone in your family who's sick, you're not asking for another family member. You want that family member to no longer be sick. And if that family member recovers, then your situation will be maintained because you don't lose anything. You maintain what you have. So that's why I say as far as saving, it also means maintain. Kind of like saving something for later, like you're eating dinner, you don't eat all of it, you set some aside for later, you're saving it for later, you're maintaining it. I believe that the idea is not really to rescue the children, but it's to maintain the children and give them hope. So they're going to be sacrificed, but they're going to be believing until the last minute that Julie or whoever who came and told us these stories of the Kamanako, maybe she may make up a term called Ankui, and they're saying Ankui right until they're sacrificed. Or maybe that's the only language they speak or something. I think Ankui is a language like I am Groot. I think that really what it is that they're believing in something like equivalent to like how the cult leaders or the townspeople believe in the man in yellow, believe in the devil and his blessings. The ghoulish children who were probably not taught anything, not showed any love, abused, someone like Julie is going to come visit them, show them love, show them compassion, tell them stories. And while they're laying on the slabs of rock, they're going to believe that she or who she's told them will come save them will save them. It's going to come full circle that the same way that Julie threw the rope to Boyd, in my opinion, nudged Tabitha in the right direction to get her and Victor out of the cave. It's going to be Julie, an older version of her, like in the future. She's going to be able to go to the children, but not be able to necessarily free them from their captivity, because there's so many townspeople. When she makes an attempt, something pulls her back to the present. Something is going to prevent her from actually doing combat with the townspeople and being successful, but she's going to come and visit the children and give them hope. Yeah, and so Christopher was supposed to go through the tree and save the children. I think what the boy in white is ultimately asking was not necessarily to save the children, but to sacrifice himself in order to give the children hope, to create the faraway trees and all that. Because I think that the faraway trees are important for maybe doing combat with the creatures. Like, there's no way that the humans can take the creatures on straight up, but I think being able to lure the creatures out to like a trap and use the faraway trees to get away is what's important to defeating the creatures. And I think that there's got to be some type of ritual that allows Fromville to be defeated. But I think the defeat is really about defeating the creatures, maybe the man in yellow and all that. I think that Fromville is just something that was created a long time ago to prevent the creatures and monsters from leaving that place. Maybe they were summoned from hell or something. I think maybe the boy in white created the dome that became a trap to keep everything evil trapped in there while he figures out who can come to help defeat this evil. I believe that at the end of the series, the people are going to be given a choice. You can go back to the regular world, or you can stay in Fromville and make it what you want it to be. And I think people like Donna are going to choose to stay, and people like the Matthews are going to choose to leave. Because as we've seen, the boy in white, he pushed Tabitha outside of Fromville. He said, this is the only way. And I think just simply having her go outside of Fromville in the middle of small town USA is not going to make a difference, because she'd be out there stranded. So I think pushing her out of the lighthouse was the only way to get her on a trail where people will find her and bring her back to civilization, because we don't know where the trail was or is that Tabitha was on. All we know is she was found on a trail. So when it comes to hikers are all over the world. Especially when it comes to, let's say, going to the Appalachian Mountains, national parks like Yellowstone National Park. I think that's the trail that she went to, and the boy in white pushed her out so that hikers that were in this vicinity could find her, because there was no way to really just have her go to a set place per se. The whole thing, I think, for Tabitha being pushed out of the lighthouse was to get Henry to be brought back in, to have some help with Jim, maybe even Victor. And I think at the end, it's not going to be to prevent the trap from happening. There's not going to be a need to bring anybody else in from the outside world. As far as the boy in white or the ghoulish children, it's going to be more of, this place is always going to be here and never going to change. You can either go back to the real world, or you can choose to stay. But if you choose to stay, there's not going to be any more evil. It's just going to be you and your generations of people, and you're going to be the only people here. Kind of like going back to the idea of Adam and Eve. The answers to the end are at the beginning, like the beginning of the episodes. Like, everything is in the beginning of every episode. I think that's kind of the whole reason why they have this whole Adam and Eve thing, is because the idea is that at the end of the series, the people who choose to stay, they're going to be like Adam and Eve, creating a new generation of people in this pocket universe.